My name is Brianna Hall, and I am the Director of Development for Medical Billing Center. Medical Billing Center helps growing outpatient physical therapy practices create steady, predictable cash flow without changing their EMR, disrupting their team, or adding any administrative burden. We combine intelligent revenue cycle infrastructure with experienced US-based specialists to reduce denials, accelerate payments, and give owners clear financial visibility. The result is less stress, stronger margins, and the confidence to scale. Today, I'm talking to Jerry Durham. Jerry Durham is the founder of the Client Experience Company. 30 years of experience in physical therapy and healthcare, as well as 20 years in business ownership, consulting, and coaching. Jerry helps practices, tech platforms, and service companies transform how they attract and engage and retain patients with better patient engagement strategies and execution. Jerry does this through creating systems where doing what's best for the patient is also what's best for business. Jerry partners with physical therapy clinics, radiology groups, addiction centers, digital health companies to build end-to-end patient engagement strategies that increase arrivals, retention, and lifetime value. This includes optimizing the pre-arrival process, where most practices lose revenue before the first visit even happens. Jerry has coined the phrase, arrive, pay, and stay. If you want your patients to arrive and pay and stay, you need to hear what Jerry has to say. Please welcome Jerry Durham. Hey Jerry, how's it going?
Hi, Brianna. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Just busy and trying to help all the practice owners. This morning I had a really interesting call with a group that's trying to do something with AI. AI is really interesting right now. I didn't share this with you before we hit the record button, but this company, what they're doing is they have some kind of AI tool that is targeting a specific issue, and across social media they're just sharing education on this medical condition, and then they're able to get all of these leads kind of flowing into their practice and able to help all these people just based on an AI tool.
I think I'm going to tag on to that. I've been neck deep in AI. I've been neck deep in AI. We'll leave it at that. For about, I'm going to say a year and a half, a little over a year now, because I saw it as something that I thought is A, going to be beneficial, and B, is going to have a huge impact, bigger than any of us realize. So some of the best talks I've been in and webinars I've been on is AI and marketing. So to your point, I think there's some really good work and really good management and really good solutions that AI is helping people with on the marketing side. So I'll just say that.
Yeah, I would rank myself as somebody who's like AI curious. I use a lot of it in my work, and as a marketing professional with what I do for NBC is a lot of development, a lot of marketing, a lot of strategizing, and a lot of talking to people and figuring out what their pain points are and how we're going to help them. But I would consider myself AI curious. Sometimes I worry about like the hallucinations with the AI, or like, is it capable of what we think it's capable of, or is it just the next new shiny hot thing?
Yeah, I think, by the way, we can top this off, but if you know your client and you know their pain points, then you can leverage AI for that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right. And I mean, there's a lot deeper places to go, but I mean, that's how I use a lot of it, right? I know my clients pretty well. I know their pain points, and then that's how I use it to build out, right, my folders and stuff. And, I got different folders for different things, whether it's proposals, whether it's sales conversations, whatever. And then I just keep dumping more and more in there, and I'm just going to say it gets wiser and wiser about what I do and what I need. So the other day I punched something in there. I forget what it was. It took 4 seconds to come up with something that, I mean, literally, I'm no joke, would have taken me probably 45 minutes to come up with.
Yeah, I use it a lot across like my personal life and at work as well. And one of the things that's really exciting about how NBC's using it is we're focusing on revenue cycle intelligence, right? So like
Right.
how
Absolutely.
How do we make the revenue cycle more intelligent to make sure that things are accurate? Our human touch is involved, and we have an expert that's looking at everything, but we're just able to capture more efficiencies and then capture more of the things that the insurance company might be thinking that they can just throw us denials. But the cleaner that we can get the claims and the more intelligence that we can inject into the revenue cycle, the better the reimbursements are coming out.
And more quickly.
Yep. What is the process that needs to happen for a rehabilitation practice owner to get paid well, get paid accurately, and get paid on time?
So this is what's interesting, because this is where I'll definitely diverge from other people, is, right, it's got to be more than your RCM cycle, right? And you know my gig, right? So if someone calls in, right, because really, right, RCM starts on the first phone call.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation, it's a collection of information that's then entered properly, and I would argue shared properly with the end user, our patients, right? Right, RCM doesn't talk about the patients very much. And here's an interesting point. I don't know if you've ever heard this story. My whole journey of the last 18 years started with billing issues in my practice.
No, I don't think you shared that with me.
So we had that, I mean, very common, still happens, right? But was very common at the time. If you went online to my business over 18 years ago, all the negative reviews were regarding a bill they got about 2 months after PT was over. Sound familiar? Seriously, this is literally where my journey started. And so we had all these negative complaints. They always started with, my PT was great, but, and then it all went downhill from there. And so we said, okay, we got to fix our billing problem. And so we threw a lot of money, a lot of time, and a lot of energy, and about 9 months later, it was exactly the same. Nothing changed. Same amount of complaints, same everything. Here's what fortunately was happening at the same time. Parallel to us dealing with this billing problem, I had happened to be working with the front desk and changing the conversation at our front desk, because I knew that the value of that conversation was going to be impactful to get people on the schedule who were going to arrive and then pay. And so we're working on this billing problem, and about 8 months later, and I'm working with the front desk, and I looked at the billing problem, and I said, wait a minute, this isn't a billing problem. So here's big takeaway number one, is it really a billing problem? And I said, this isn't a billing problem. This is an information sharing problem. So I reverse engineered it as far back as I could, and I went, let's start doing this. On the first phone call, let's start telling people, these are the expectations. This is what's going to happen next. We're going to collect this. We're going to get the information. I rewrote my financial policy to fit that. And then we shared with people. Now, mind you, we didn't go through a laundry list, all the things that the insurance company can. This is your podcast, so I won't say the F word, but
it's okay.
That the insurance company could F up.
Yeah.
We weren't going through a laundry list, but part of our sales call, the initial intake, was that my team's going to get this for you, and yet this is what we get from the insurance company, and it can be incorrect, and that's on them. My financial policy, one of the favorite things, I still have it. I have so my financial policy was in 12-point font. In 14-point font at the top was, we checked your benefits. All this information came from your insurance company, period. Your insurance company will not guarantee this information, comma. What that means to you is, if this information is wrong, it's your insurance company's fault, period. If you have an issue with your insurance company, please contact us and let us help you deal with your problem. Every word in there is so intentional. So, started the conversation, had a call back, gave them their benefits, that started that, and then they read the financial policy that said that, and guess what happened to my billing problem?
People started understanding that you and them are on the same team.
Yeah. So the billing problem disappeared. So it had nothing to do with a surprise bill. That's wrong. It had everything to do with the surprise bill, and the word was surprise. Make sure people know they're going to get a bill. And literally, our billing problems went away. So let's double back to, right, getting paid. it's not just about getting paid, because you and I both know all those relationships were ruined. So I had this review that said my PT was great, and I tell people all the time, because when I do training, I make people go, well, Jerry, okay, you want the whole team together in a room together, you want the providers. I go, yeah, and the front desk, and they're like, oh, and I go, and the billing team, and they're like, really? And I go, you ever had a negative review from a billing issue that killed a relationship, a 1-star review? And I'm like, everybody on the team plays a role in patient success. And I don't care if they get better and they go run a marathon. If they have a billing issue and write you a negative review, that negative review means the relationship is dead in the water. So, yeah, that's my story. And I think it's really cool that now here we are. So talking about billing and billing issues, I'm like, careful to people, right? If we're going to talk about billing issues, by the way, let's do this. Arrive, pay, and stay, right? That's my moniker. So let's think about this. I got to get you, so when you first call the clinic, and we're going to talk all around billing on this. When you first call, I just set up a webinar and I said 2 things have to be done on the first phone call. You must know that person's problem they want solved, not their diagnosis, and you must address it. And secondly, you must tell them the next step on the financial side. You must. Yes. People talk around it. By the way, my secret callers, you'd be surprised how many people take my insurance info and then never tell me what's going to happen next, right?
Yeah.
So
it's
we
one of the
must
things
have
that,
that, right?
Yeah, it's one of the things that I say, even from a sales standpoint, or like in what I do with marketing and sales. When I am getting a clinic partner to sign on with us, I am going to tell them exactly what is going to happen. You're going to sign my contract, and then this is the next thing that's going to happen, and that has to happen, otherwise the trust is broken, and they're not going to have a good onboarding process.
And part of that onboarding process for me is that pre-arrival process, right? Because so when someone calls the clinic and they schedule and you hang up with them, I'm like, the mistake 99.9% of the clinics make is, oh, we're done. I'm like, no, they got to show up. One of my favorite sayings, mine, is scheduled people don't pay your bills. Arrived people pay your bills, right? So part of that onboarding process, and it's a continuation, I'd say you're actually still in the sales process, is you have to make some kind of promise around costs and benefits and then deliver on that. By the way, I don't encourage you to wait until arrival to give people their benefits, but some clinics do. Yet, just tell people they'll get their benefits when they arrive. Again, I've had more times than not, the phone gets hung up and nobody tells me what's going to happen next. And this arrive, pay, and stay is all interwoven together, right? Every business metric is in this term, arrive, pay, and stay. Every possible business metric. Because if we want to go to pay, everything to do with RCM is embedded in there, right?
Yeah, because
so
your
if I want to get
process,
paid, right?
It can't start unless they show up.
Yeah, there you go. And so this has to start, right? A successful RCM process starts before they ever show up. And so collecting the data, getting it in the right place, and then having the tasking system to make sure that, right, the information comes back, someone reviews it at this point in time. By the way, I've burned through my team and I have burned through 2 AI benefit check companies. And I love AI, and like I said, I'm neck deep in it, and I use it a lot for the voice stuff. But the benefit check stuff is just getting benefits more quickly, but no one's doing all this other work. So I just want to tell people that you're still going to need not only a human in the loop. I needed someone on the front end and the back end. And then finally, after like 3 months, I'm like, I can do this better. You guys are now just a friction point for me. So we burned through 2.
It's challenging for us as well, because that is like an entire, service line that we would love to be able to offer our clinic partners, is being able to do the benefit checks for them. But these tools, especially tools that are on the market today, they're not at a place where they can do the things that they say that they can do.
I agree. And it is still, I did a post the other day, I think you saw it, and I had this conversation with someone. We're to the point in this journey where you got to separate, right? Even benefit checks have to be broken down. This is that post I did. Really looking closely at I was having a conversation with a team, and it took me like 2 weeks to really figure this out. why there was so much resistance to doing this next step. And I realized, wait a minute, the team at the front desk is doing a portal check on everybody that's in network, and right, and it's simple. Just bear with me on this. It's simple and easy to add that on and put that into the flow. Where we're running into trouble were people that required auths, people that required the phone call, so the out of network, the RTM stuff. So even doing benefit checks, here we go, back to a successful RCM program. You got to know in advance, how am I going to get these benefits? A, that serves the person, is if the person doesn't show up, like you said, who cares what your RCM program is? So I have to have a process that serves the person on the phone, on the other end of the phone, which is simple enough as telling them, you'll have your benefits 24 hours before your appointment, and then just deliver them. But then you have to be able to get them. So is that going to be a portal? Is that going to be a phone call? Is there going to be an auth required? Blah, blah, blah. So this part of the process, it's huge. It's huge. And it starts at the front desk, right? And
what we found, and let me just share this, is we have found clinic partners within our ecosystem and within just clinics that we're talking to, where their front desk process is they're getting a referral, they're calling the patient to schedule them, and they're putting dummy information in their EMR just to hold that spot. They're not even collecting the insurance to run it or to get auth until the patient shows up and hands them.
Oh, so all of it's done. Oh boy, that must be some, you know what I call that? Downstream chaos.
It's a lot of downstream chaos, and the amount of practice owners, but also administrative office managers, etc., that don't realize how much that impacts the entire flow and the entire flow of revenue into their clinic. I would say, especially for us, because we work with a lot of small guys, a lot of single practice owners, they're treating and they're running their business, startups, mobile practices, etc., things like that. So I've talked to clinic owners who are like, hey, sometimes I am in a small town and somebody just walks in and I just treat them because I want to be the small town guy that they can come to and I can solve their problems, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, that's great, but if their insurance requires authorization, you can't just treat them and then hope to bill it.
And by the way, do you want to keep your doors open and serve these people is the question, right? And last I checked, you're going to have to pay rent.
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be right. So this whole idea of around arrive, pay, and stay, I brought it up. And this is my mantra is you need more patients on your schedule who will arrive, pay, and stay. So what does that mean, right? That means breaking down all of this stuff. And my journey started with that billing issue, right? And then my journey started, I was out at network also. So I had to come up with a new process because what we were doing, so I did this, we flipped out of network, right? I didn't start an out of network clinic. We had all the infrastructure for in network, and then we wake up one day and I'm out of network. Now mind you, we didn't wake up one day, but so I had to come up with a new process of how are we going to bill? How are we going to manage this? What am I going to share? And it was an interesting journey. It took me a solid year to figure this stuff out. And I believe we got dialed in, and it worked for us, right? The business survived and thrived. But we had to take a step back and go, and it started with me just going, how are we going to get people to show up? So it started with that arrival thing. Then I realized, wait, it was more than the PT part. It had to be about the pay part. People were showing up and then leaving pissed off because we were saving the pay part. So there you go.
I was going to say, talk to me about the pay part, because
there you
I
go.
know at least Jim, our CEO, he always talks about the front desk within his clinic. They used to say things like patients would be walking out after their therapy and the front desk would go, oh, you're good. See you next time.
Yeah. So this connectedness, you just brought up the next thing. So if you go on your front end and you go, cool, this is the way we're going to talk to people about payment here at ABC Physio, and it can be insurance, it could be cash pay, it could be whatever. But this word payment, it's payment, by the way, and I'm going to say this out loud, it's not reimbursement. Mm-hmm. Right? And if you just look up the definition between payment and reimbursement, it's not reimbursement. And I always claim reimbursement as a term the insurance companies made up so it didn't sound so bad when they weren't fucking paying us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this connectedness between what your front desk is doing and then what happens when they arrive. So I was off site, right? So I took all the calls. I was the one scheduling people. But the front desk had to know what was a financial policy, what was to be collected. Because I'll tell you this is fun. And I believe this. I've seen articles, pros and cons. I reverse engineer success. So I always go, when someone says we got a cancel call, I go, well, what happened the visit before? I don't ask about the cancel call. Someone showed up and didn't pay. Well, what happened the step before, the step before? So I was telling people we'd get them their cost before they arrived. And I would call them back and give them their cost. And check this out. We had this financial sheet that I still have, that I still use in my business 18 years later. We had what I call a cost callback sheet, and most people call it like a benefit sheet. My benefits team would send me a document back that I could use to share in the phone call to give someone as much of the cost information as I could and get an agreement. I, as the person who gave the information, had to create the financial policy that I then put into the patient's chart so the front desk team on site could review it before they showed up. I also told that person, and by the way, Jerry, we do take payment at the time of service. I even to the point now, I train front desk teams to say, when do you guys want it? Do you want it at the front or the back end? They're like, oh, we don't care. I'm like, not gonna work. Do you want it on the front end or the back end? Well, we'd rather get it on the way out. Cool. I would tell you that, by the way, Jerry, we collect payment at the end of every visit. It got to the point I was working the front desk. Mind you, I was out of network. So not everybody, but 50% plus were paying more than they would have paid to go in network. So my copay collection rate was 98% across, right?
So good.
And it was because my front desk knew that people were told. And when I actually worked the front desk. So after I was doing the call stuff, I moved to the front desk because I wanted to see the progression. I would see people walk in the door grabbing for their wallet out of their purse or their back pocket before they even got to the front desk, because we told people payment was due when you arrived.
Yes.
And so we rarely had to ask for it. And
It's
so,
interesting knowing everything that you know and sharing kind of what you just shared, that there are still practices out there that aren't doing these simple steps that can save them thousands and thousands of dollars.
I was collecting, look at this, 98% collection rate. I was balance billing. So I still had to get some amount back from the insurance company, right? And which I just ran into another network group I'm helping this with, right? I think balance billing is a great solution when you go out of network. If you have the infrastructure, there's no reason not to do it. So we were collecting, I'm just going to say roughly 50% of our cash flow, not freaking 10% of it, 50% of our cash flow. So it was, and you know what I went back to people, and I think we need to do this as business owners, is I went back to my front desk team and I said, do you know where the money comes for your paycheck every 2 weeks?
Yes.
I go, over the front desk. Guess
It's
what?
so important.
We rarely had a week below 98%.
It's
And it did,
crazy.
because it
So,
literally did.
especially as somebody, my background was as a business owner before I came to work at NBC. And so having those transparent conversations with your team about where their paycheck comes from, and not in a bad way, but in an educational way that's like, hey, this is
Tipping
the,
point for me in the front desk. Yeah,
yeah,
huge.
we get paid for the problem that we solve, and this is how we get paid, and that payment allows us to keep the lights on, right, and pay your paycheck and make sure that we can keep up with inflation, et cetera, et cetera. You are going
I
to get such
literally
a better
went-
quality employee.
Yeah. I didn't ask this because, right, if you ask this in a room full of people, it's not going to happen. I literally went to every employee in my company individually and said, where does the money for your paycheck come from? And after that conversation, and be able to because, by the way, here's a dirty little secret. DPT, 7 years of grad school, hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. They were the ones that had the difficulty telling me that I had one who just couldn't voice the fact that I see people, we help them, I bill, we get paid, that money goes in the bank. The front desk people knew right away, well, it's the money we're collecting, the money, right, from treating people. I had a couple of my DPTs just look at me like I was speaking Chinese to them.
Well, some of that is just because Jim talks about this a lot, which I really appreciate. The like overall bias demographic of a DPT is really wants to just help people.
Yeah, there you go. We could talk about all that too. I'd never.
Why they want they're like, oh, I just want to help people. They're so humble and such kind people, you know. But we got to make sure they get paid.
That whole, in 18 years of business, we used to audit, right? We used to audit billing all the time. My ops guy. We never ever in 18 years caught anybody over billing. What did we catch all the time? Underbilling.
Yeah.
They would like document a therapeutic activity, and it's like, where's the code?
Yep.
You treated them for 60 minutes. Where's the time?
Yeah, I mean, we could do an entire
stuff.
podcast on all the struggles with getting your providers in your practice to code correctly, to code efficiently, to code not only for like what's best for the patient is what's best for the business, and not just using the same two codes that they're the most comfortable with.
Yeah.
Because insurance companies, right, they're looking at that, and that's how you're telling them what you need and what you need to be paid for.
And then a year later going, geez, we've been overpaying everybody because this clinic only needs this much, right?
Yeah. Well, that could be a whole separate podcast. But let's talk a little bit. So you covered Arrive a little bit. You covered pay.
Well,
now talk
pay,
to me
right?
about stay.
Because getting paid, that check you get 3 weeks later started on the first phone call. And by the way, let me throw out one little more caveat about that. It's Arrive and pay, and if I manage the conversation properly, and that first check is wrong or the EOB is wrong, people don't come in mad. We literally went from like a lot of mad people to zero mad people just by changing the conversation. So there's that. I'm going to tell you one other thing. If it comes down to having to collect money from people, you want to know how you manage the process. You want to know their name was on the line of a simple document. I took like a 2-page financial policy and just took all the bullshit out of it and just put what people owed us, and that if there was an issue, they would owe us the balance. I mean, that is it, man. And we would work with them, right? And I then went and worked the collection sides of the company. Because after I was doing all this, I'm like, why do we have people in collections? If we're managing this front end right, and everybody I dealt with who owed us money signed the financial policy, and I knew they went through the same process. Now, you know damn well not everybody called me back. Of the people who called me back, I collected 100% of the money because of the process we had in place. So I'm telling you, this is truly, it's not just getting paid properly by the insurance company on the EOB. It's about having a relationship with someone that understands that there was value here and that there was payment that needed to be received. And if my insurance company didn't pay me that, then I owe it.
Yep.
So that's where I'll stop with that.
What's interesting to me is thinking through accounts that I have seen in the past, and I'm talking aged AR accounts, and ones that are the highest are always patient balances.
Yeah.
And why these owners really struggle to collect on patient balances. And I think that you're right. If they had this infrastructure in place, then they would be more comfortable with knowing that this is just our standard operating procedure. This is the way that we collect on these balances. And I'm talking, these are $300,000, $400,000 balances of just patient balances.
So let's go back real quick. You see someone for 10 visits, right? And it's a $50 copay, right? I'm like, and they agree to $50. I'm like, $500 is a lot more than $50. I don't, that alone was a reason to go, if I asked you for $50, you're like, I'm good. You asked me for $500, I'm like, time out, what the fuck, right? And that's where the shit hits the fan. So that $500 doesn't seem like a lot to you. I was like, no, it wasn't, because it was broken up into $50 payments. Why didn't you just collect them, right?
Yep.
Right, and this is part of that whole arrival process, right? That I have this info that is shared with you on a phone call that you're going to owe $50 at the beginning of each visit. And then, by the way, which no one ever does, is go sit in the dead air after you give that cost and then go, so what questions do you have of me? I ended every call like that. And you catch stuff, right? You'd catch stuff all the time.
Yep, exactly.
You know what, Jerry, that might not work. And then I would set up a payments plan. And then my front desk knew it when they arrived, whatever it was. But people showed up, they arrived, they paid, and they stayed.
Yep. Did you find that people stayed longer for their entire plan of care when you changed?
Oh, absolutely. When I say, I mean completed courses of care. So cancel rates were down, drop-offs were down, no-shows were down. And I'm going to argue, I don't think I said this earlier, I'm going to argue a lot of the drop-offs at visit 3. When does the first EOB show up?
Around week 3.
Yeah, oh, what a
Week 4.
coincidence. And magically, they don't come back. By the way, we put together a little video that went out at about week 2 telling everybody, hey, you're going to get an EOB. If you have questions about it, bring it in.
Oh, I like that. That's a good strategy.
Everything. So again, reverse engineering success. So if I know people are going to get that EOB, if I know there might be questions, if I know there might be uncertainty, how can I kill it? Well, I told them on the cost callback. It was on the financial policy, but I was like, let's just check another box. Let's send them an email. By the way, when you were headed out the door, hey, Jerry, you're going to get an email from us. I want you to open it up because it's going to talk to you about some stuff you're going to get from an insurance company this week. And guess what?
Yep.
You'd open that email.
Yep, exactly.
Make the video.
And it's another way that you're reinforcing it's the practice and the patient together against the insurance company, not the patient versus you.
You know what's funny? I mentioned those collection people. Remember the people that called me back? The number one way I got people on my side, because I knew we had done the cost callback. I knew they had signed the financial policy. And then I always said, oh, Brianna, I go, man, I get it. The insurance, and by the way, depending if I know them or not, I literally would say this. I said, this is so unfortunate because like they've done to other people, your insurance company fucked you. I would literally start the call like that. And I literally said that to people. And guess what?
They pay you. Yeah.
Because they knew, because in this journey, I love the way you said that. They knew it was me and you. I used to do this. You just verbalize a visual I used to do. I said, here's the provider, or here's the business, here's the patient. And then I say, we allow the insurance company to come between us and the patient. And I go, it doesn't have to be that way.
Yep.
And that's the biggest mistake. I do secret callers in the front desk team going, we'll check your benefits, right? And they take ownership of all this. On the cost callback, I would tell you, your insurance company did not guarantee this information. So if it's incorrect, it's their fault. So I started to disassociate from that. The financial policy said that. I do these calls all the time where people go, oh, well, here's your cost. This is what we got for you. And I'm like, why at no point do you say you can't guarantee any of this? Because they're going to come back. By the way, they come back yelling at you, rightfully so, because you took ownership of it.
Yeah. You told me I was only going to owe $40.
We could do a whole nother version on how to do a cost callback.
Yeah. Well, okay, I want to talk about the secret callers. When you posted on LinkedIn that you were doing these, and I knew already through our relationship that this is something that you offered, but I was like, how cool. I'm also in love with the show Undercover Boss, always have been for 20 years. But talk to me about, how do you do a secret caller? What goes into it? And how many clinics do you call on average? How do you pick them? Does somebody ask you for this service, or do you just pick them at random? And then what are the results that you find?
Yeah, so secret caller, simple enough, is me just calling your clinic and saying, hi, my name is so-and-so, right? I want to get scheduled. Literally, right?
Do you act as like direct access?
So here's what I do. So hold on, you're getting in the weeds. Let me explain high level first, right? And you're right, these are all good questions. Because I tell people my prep takes longer than the call, right? So I do all the prep for that. So if a clinic manager, owner, front desk person calls and asks me to do a secret caller, here's what I do every time. I do everything I can to set this call up for success, right? That's why people have to go, oh, you're that difficult patient. And here's my response to that. I say, why would I call your clinic and be a patient that calls maybe 20% of the time without knowing how you guys manage the 80% of the time? And then I pause and go, because I hate to tell you, most of you all can't manage the 80% calls. Right? So everybody goes, I literally have looked down at my phone. Did you just secret call our clinic? I just had this weird call, and I'm like, no, I'm not the weird guy. It's not me.
Yeah.
I literally tell everybody, short of the name, what I'm going to do when I call their clinic. So sometimes I randomly call clinics because it's what I do, right? That's last week was all random. Nobody
Okay,
asked me. I
got
did
it.
6 calls. Oh, one person asked me, sorry. One person asked me. So I will randomly call clinics. People will ask me. Yet again, here we go. What's the best time to call your clinic? Is there someone in particular? I do it all to set the call up for success, meaning by the way, success is someone picks up the phone. I got 2 voicemails last week. I called, I made a post, people commented on it. So I said, like, cool, let's see if some of these people really deliver. Went to voicemail.
Yep.
Here's the issue. If I do a secret caller and it goes to voicemail, I'll message you, hey Brianna, I secret called your clinic, when do you want to debrief? And we get on the phone and you go, how'd it go? I'd go, it went to voicemail. And they go, well, did you call back? I go, no, 78% of the people say they will schedule what the first place picks up. My feedback is it went to voicemail, of which I always get, oh my gosh, it never goes to voicemail. And I always go, wow, what a coincidence. The one time I called, it went to voicemail. Right? You got to own your own shit, man.
Yep.
You got to just own your shit. And so that's why I do that. But I won't call during lunch times. If you close during lunchtime, we got a whole nother discussion, but I just don't want to have to deal with that. So I don't call during lunchtime. So don't tell me it went to voicemail, oh, we're closed. I'm like, cool, you just lost $1,000 worth of business because you chose to close. In this time of AI and voice agents, my friends, no. So all this stuff goes into it. Now, if you don't ask me to do it, even if you ask me to do it, I go to your website. I see what insurances you take. I see what state you're in, and I check for direct access.
Okay.
My name is so-and-so. By the way, I've done this same thing every time. My name is so-and-so. I have low back pain. I want to get scheduled. 90% of the people fuck that up. So don't tell me to be a difficult patient. Don't tell me you got this all figured out. And then I let the conversation flow. Now, I have low back pain. I've been to physical therapy for low back pain. I've actually had some shoulder pain, so I might say I have shoulder pain. I just let it flow. I'm just a potential consumer on the other end of the phone asking to do business with you.
Yep.
So wherever you go from there. And because someone will say, it's interesting. Because I'm really dialed in, and this is what I learned after a year of answering new patient calls. People answer the question that's asked of them. And what I find is front desk people get really frustrated because people didn't give me the information I want. And I go back and I listen to the call and I'm like, you didn't ask them that question. Right? Let me give you a quick example. People go, well, I was trying to get, their goals. I said, well, what'd you ask them? I asked them to tell me what happened. I'm like, you asked me to tell me how you got injured, not what my goals are, right? I'm like, if you want their goals, ask them, what do you want out of our time together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where do you want to be in
all this stuff, all this
What's
stuff.
the thing you can't do right now that you want to be able to do?
Yeah. And here's this other thing, right? I have a process that I teach that I say will drive, and I've proven it with metrics, drive more. So my goal is you don't want to get people scheduled. You want people on the schedule who will arrive, pay, and stay. That's a different conversation. And I've structured a 5-step process for that, by the way, of which I give to free to anybody who wants it. So people say, what are you looking for on the call? And I go, A, I'm just looking for a process. And B, I'm seeing if these things are getting done. Are you acknowledging me? Did you give me a problem to be solved? Did you get my expectations? Because expectations align with outcomes. Did you tell me I'm going to see an expert? Because people in the research, healthcare research, say they want an expert that will give them a diagnosis and give them a plan. I'm like, that's healthcare research. That's not even PT. So, did you sell an expert? Did you tell me what I'll get on that first visit with the expert? Did you manage how do I want to pay? And did you recap the call?
Yep.
That's my process. So I'm just looking for a process. 98% of the clinics I call don't follow that.
Don't have a process.
Don't have a process. Well, they do have a process. Insurance, referral, date of birth, address, scheduled.
Yep. Yep. So talk to me about this. So you did 6 calls
Yeah.
last week.
2 AI agents in there.
I want to hear about those.
You want to hear about those
How-
first?
Let's start. Well, okay, here's what I want you to do. Tell me what was the biggest difference that you noticed between the AI calls and the live? Because you got 2 live, 2 voicemail, 2 AI.
So check this out. So both AI agents were in clinics that I got a live call. Someone answered. So check this out, because this is important context, because this makes the answer more disturbing than I'm going to give you. So I call, someone picks up and takes me through a process, and I'm like, by the way, when I hang up the phone, I want everybody to understand this. The first thing I ask myself is, why should I arrive? Because that will relate back to the process, right? That will be proof of the process. So if I look down and go, well, they take my insurance, I'm like, so does 8 other clinics. Oh, they schedule me Thursday at 11. Well, 6 of those clinics have 11 o'clock, right? You know, and people go through this, and I'm like, that's not a reason to arrive. Those are, right? Those are just hanging out there. I could call the next place. And if they just hit one thing in my process, they're going to differentiate themselves, and I'll schedule. By the way, you commoditize yourself. Everybody says I'm not a commodity. I'm like, your front desk just sold a fucking commodity. Are you kidding me? They commoditize the hell out of that phone call. No value, 0. So I talk to these people, live people. I then hang up, or I call later, like after hours, get the AI voice agent. Listen to me, people. Listen to this. A crappy process for your front desk team that's then put in an AI is a crappy process in an AI agent. So it was
Shit in, shit out.
here's the one thing. It was shittier faster. It's more efficient, moves me through. So this is the upside, and I'm going to say this right here, big fat caveat, and we don't have to go down this road. I've created AI voice agents with my process. It executes my process more quickly. So it will execute the process, shitty or not. So that's what people don't understand about AI is it's like, oh, I said AI is a blank slate. It's like handing someone a freaking, right, a canvas and going, okay, cool, create that. And it's like, what are you talking about? AI is the platform right now. AI is the canvas. It needs us. It needs good process.
Yeah.
And I'm helping a couple. I literally have my first 2 clients that I'm helping, 3 that I'm helping, because it's a workflow, right? With a process built in. So I've got 3 clients right now that I'm helping them with their AI agents. There's absolutely no reason. An AI voice agent should be your overflow and your after hours at the bare minimum.
At the bare minimum. Do you think that an AI voice agent should be the first line if somebody calls at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday?
It should be whatever it needs to be for you. And if you trust, so here's the thing, and I had to go through, it was a total mind shift for me. And I started, when I first started with the first AI agent, I kept thinking like it's voicemail. And I'm like, no, this can solve a problem, right?
Yeah.
So I tell people, you got to think about what objectives do you want solved if it picks up during the day, it might be different than after hours. So check this out. First one I ever created. So yeah, by the way, back to the secret callers. The live process, by the way, it's not the person's fault who took the call. I should have said this at the front end. It's the lack of training and onboarding. It's ownership's, it's management's issue. I've never once called someone and said, listen to me clearly on this. I've never, ever, ever said your front desk sucks. I said, you suck. To the owner and the, right? I'm like, you guys suck. You got no process. You told your team to get people scheduled, and then you left them to their own devices, and now you're going to hold them accountable for people not showing up. I'm like,
Yeah.
shame on you, man.
Which I will say, one of the things that I really appreciate about you made a post, this is probably 6 months ago now, where you said your front desk is your best salesperson. You should be paying them far and above an entry-level wage.
All you got to do, and I'm going to tell you this right now, and I've learned this over time, and I was fortunate. I had a sales call yesterday, and it was with the owner's name, but I get on the call, and he put his clinic manager on the call, and he wasn't there, and she apologized for him not being there, and here's what I said: I'd rather talk to you. And she kind of smiled. I said, I'm dead serious. We're going to get way farther on this call because you're in it, you know it, And by the end of this 30 minutes, we're going to know a lot more than if it was just me and the owner. And guess what? It was a rip roaring call because I went back and looked at the summary afterwards, right? Yeah, and I'm like, I'm so glad it was you and I, right? So your front desk team knows the solutions. You just haven't empowered them, nor have you given them permission to do it. So all of a sudden, when you give them a better process, they'll start delivering. And back to your point, you're going to owe them more money, my friends. So everybody loves to tell me, yeah, Jerry, this is great, but my front desk, right? All they want is more money and they keep churning out. You know what I say? That's on you for hiring the wrong people. You cannot train the wrong hire.
Yeah, that, and I think that there is a misconception, and I've worked that role as well. I was a patient care coordinator in a PT clinic, and the misconception is that those people are entry level and invaluable, and they're just a butt in a seat to just schedule a patient and go have a conversation with them. But when I was a patient care coordinator, it was the critical conversations and the way that you're making the patients feel before they ever even meet them.
And I can prove all of this with data. I can prove all of this. So when you say that, people go, yeah, that's all. That all sounds great. And I'm like, no, I got the proof. I got 18 years of proof working with clients in my own business. So what you're saying is 130%. And the deeper I get into it, the more it just is.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think involving your office manager and your front desk in setting the entire process up so that everybody is familiar with it, but I
didn't do that. I didn't do that for 8 years. I was setting it up, throwing it at my front desk team, and then blaming them. And then one day I finally asked them to help me, and guess what? Things got better. Dead serious. I can tell you what it was. And so I don't claim that I did all this because I didn't do any of it. Fortunately, I learned it and shifted. When we went out of network, we had 4 clinics. We had already been in business for 5 years. I tell everybody this, and this is interesting. I go, at the end of 1 year after going out of network, one whole group of people in our business flipped. Not one provider quit. Every front desk person quit me, and rightfully so. Yeah. And I apologized to every single one of them when they were headed out the door. I talked to them a little more about what we were doing. Are you sure you don't want to give this a go? And I apologized. I said, I know this isn't what you were hired into. This is not the role you were hired into, and I get it. And I apologize, but we had to do this for business purposes.
Yeah.
And I literally apologized to everybody who quit through my front desk that year.
Entrepreneurship is a whole, and I think therapists that own their own practices sometimes forget that they're also entrepreneurs. But it is such a critical learning experience, and when your process has changed, 60% of the population is like, they fear change. They don't like it. They don't adapt to it. So when your processes change to make your business more efficient and make your business operate better so that you have better margins and more profitability, there is going to be some friction, and you may have churn, right, of patients or of staff members, and that is very normal. But at the end of the day, when you look over the long game of it all, it is going to be for the better.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I'm just going to throw this out there for people to think about, because I was on a call yesterday with a group that has 10 plus clinics. And I'm like, when you hire a front desk person, I said, I'm going to make a statement. You tell me if it's true or false. The job posting is the same for every single time you post. And they said, yeah. And I go, right, that's a mistake. You guys have created the chaos, right? And so then we hire everybody to the same job description. And then we ask them to, hey, start managing this front desk process, the phone call differently. By the way, tell everybody they owe $100 a visit, right? And no way, shape, or form did the job description say anything about any sales type thing, money conversations. And then I dump it on you, and then I blame you when you don't do it. I'm like, nope. That's why I created my virtual company, by the way. So I got tired of training the wrong hires.
Well, I'm super excited. So I'm looking at your post on my other screen right here. So you break down on LinkedIn, which if anybody's listening to this and they're not following Jerry Durham on LinkedIn, you need to be. So
thank you.
You said this on the podcast as well. At the end of every call, you ask yourself, why should I arrive? So based on the 6 calls that you did, 2 with voice agents, 2 with voicemail, and then 2 live
The,
calls.
the AI voice agents were almost worse because it was a shitty process more quickly. And I
Yep.
don't know, but for some reason it felt dirtier.
So, what was your ratio of clinics that you would arrive to
Well,
of 6?
as I only talked to 4, right? Here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. I hang up the phone. There was no clear. By the way, I didn't even get a provider's name on any of the calls, right? So I don't know who. I don't know. So this is what I always say, right? This phone call is you are trying to increase the likelihood of the result you want, which is arrival. So if I ask you your problem be solved and I make it more about you rather than your diagnosis, I've chipped away at this. So if I keep chipping away, I move closer and closer to the likelihood of arrival, the event I want. If I don't do those things, I'm moving more and more towards this uncertainty around I have no idea. So my thing is you've left too much to chance at the end of this. What am I going to be thinking about? Well, I wonder if that place was real, and by the way, let me just run through about 3 or 4 things people are thinking when they hang up. That sounds like everybody else. I wonder if that's really right for me. By the way, something comes up. I've got an 11 o'clock on Thursday. I got low value on this call. You call, Brianna calls and says, hey, Jerry, I'd like to get together. I'd like to talk about this. The only time I have available is Thursday at 11 o'clock. And I go, cool, I can make it. And I call and cancel, right? So all these things have to come into play. But if I sold value and you're coming to the right place and you know the expert, you know the cost, and Brianna says, Jerry, I got 11 at Thursday, and you go, oof, you got any other time? I've got an appointment I really want to get to. High value. So what happens is this why I should arrive is almost like just a math equation, right? It's did you leave just way too many holes for me to back out and go, yeah, or maybe I'm going to call the next place. I'm not quite sure if they're a fit. And the next place, all the next place says, well, Jerry, you mentioned you have low back pain, but what is it you're looking to get back to? And that's the only thing that changed in the whole conversation. And I say, well, I want to get back to the gym pain free. And you go, oh, you help a lot of people do that. That's it. There's the trigger. I call and cancel. And all that person did was one more sentence. Calls same length, everything else, insurance, referral, all of it's the same. But now, right? So I call and cancel.
Yep.
So that why I should arrive is just all this likelihood of things happening or not happening.
What do you think is, I would say this, my opinion is that a lot of providers and owners kind of then blame the patients or the patient's demographic or the age that we're in currently on why their cancellation rate is high and not their process.
The answer to that is 130% correct. And man, you want to see me go off? You want to see me get triggered? Post about how your patients are burning you. I'll secret call that clinic so fast. A lot of times when I see the research pop up on no-shows, arrivals, and cancels, I just get really upset because it'll tell you like, okay, by the way, the last study I read said women cancel more than men. I'm like, well, stop canceling, right? Stop scheduling. But so their takeaway will be stop scheduling women or stop scheduling people who live more than 5 miles away or stop scheduling people on Medicaid. I'm like, no, you said, here's the confusion. Next time you read that, they tell you who cancels, not why they cancel. I'm like, so someone lives 5 miles away. Would you travel 5 miles for something you value?
Yes.
Right? So, and it's just a question, right? That was my post. I found, my post last night on LinkedIn, the very last one with me smoking the cigar. It says, lack of value, right? If you don't share value, all that's left is price.
Yes. Which is so true. I will say this, like, number one.
And by the way, I didn't get a price on any of my calls. So if there's no value and I don't know the price, likelihood of arrival, less.
You said something that really kind of like jogged my memory, and that is you did not get the name of a provider. You didn't.
Correct.
Nobody told you. Hey,
More than 50% of the time, I don't get a provider name. Think about that.
When you come in, you're gonna see John. John's a PT with our clinic. He's been here for 5 years. He's helped a lot of people with your condition.
Right, and by the way, that needs to happen right there. What you're doing, that needs to be baked into the call. I'm just the expert for you, Jerry.
Yep.
Right. John Smith, physical therapist. He's been treating people with low back pain and helping them get back to the gym. 5 years with us. The likelihood of arrival on that statement just went through the roof.
Yep.
Yeah, right there. So I bake it in. You're right. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's all you have to do.
It's
But
so
they don't.
simple. It's so simple. Oh man, well I have a hard stop, so I gotta jump off and get to
I
my.
only have 4 more hours to talk about this stuff.
I know, I know. Well,
You
okay,
know I
so is
love
there
talking about
anything that you want to add? I do want to say you mentioned your 5-step process. You said you give it out for free to people. I want to put that in the show notes.
Yeah,
Would you
sure.
be willing
I'll
to do
give it
that?
to you to share with people that listen to this.
Perfect.
Sure.
So we're gonna put that in the show notes for this podcast,
And by
and
the
then
way, it's not just in. So you're going to look at it. Some people go, "Oh, is it a script?" I'm like, "No, it's an outline for a conversation." And what I did was the one I'll give you. It has the 5 steps, and then it has a little blurb underneath of like kind of what I say, the why of it. So you'll get it, the little extra
cool.
version. Just
And then we'll include your information as well, so that people can
yeah.
find you.
You know what's funny is the fear around asking me to do a secret caller is just pure insanity.
Why? Why do you think?
Nobody ever, right? All those LinkedIn posts, 0 requests. Because they know. Because people want to come on and tell me how great it is, and I call them and go, what's great? Define great for me, right?
Yes.
People
And
were posting, yeah.
people think that they're different. Like, oh, not us, we're different.
You know, and so again, to what end, right? To what end? At the end of the call, that person needs to know they called the right place, and the right place has the expert for me that I'm willing to invest. By the way, I don't care if it's a fucking 15-minute about, that I'm willing to invest my time for the first visit to get these deliverables at this cost. That's it. That's it. Nobody has ever given me that. Ever
Yeah.
in the history.
What do you?
I can say 0 times I've gotten that.
It's so wild to me. So how often?
I had a run last year. I found a video. I was 0 for 11. 11 clinics didn't schedule me for some reason, because I went through this kick, Brianna, where I would go, and if you had direct access, I'd tell you I didn't have a referral. I was 0 for 11.
They wouldn't schedule you?
Yeah, because I didn't have a referral in states with direct access. And I go back to the owners, and you know what I do? Are you guys take direct access, people? Oh yeah, we're really pushing hard for that. I was like, you might want to tell your front desk you're pushing for that.
Wow. That
0
is
for 11.
That is wild. I wonder how many practice owners, that's who we're going to be pushing this out to, right? Is practice owners. But how many of them realize that and realize how integrated their front desk is into them getting a paycheck at the end of the day?
Yeah, arrive, pay, and stay, right? I mean, they start the journey. Every successful patient came through your front desk and should be, by the way, that picture in the waiting room with your patient and I walked into a clinic once. It was plastered in the waiting room, right, with like 50 pictures. It was all providers, and I was there to do front desk work. And I walk in, and I'm waiting in the waiting area, and every picture is a provider with a patient, and the owner comes out and introduces himself. I said, I love your wall. Where are the fucking front desk people that put every one of these people on the schedule for their first visit?
Yeah. What is the value? Are owners valuing their front desk people?
So I think a great equation there is ROI, return on investment. If I give you $1, how much can I get back?
Yeah.
Well, we all know what the investment is on our providers, and it's a lot bigger than $1. So it'd be like, if I can get, and I'm just going to throw out some random numbers and then we can go. If I pay $1 to Brianna to answer the phone and she puts a $2,500 patient on the schedule, that ROI is immense. I'm going to have to pay a provider potentially $100 to get the same $2,500. So the ROI on the front desk cannot be matched in the business. So this is what I'm going to leave it with. You cannot get new treatments, you can't add more equipment, you can't add more services, you can't add another revenue stream that can return the ROI of a well-trained front desk person. End of story. The largest ROI untapped in your business is your front desk team.
Boom. That is so good.
That's it. And I've been doing this for 18 years and I've seen it proven over and over. And here's the dirty little secret. Everybody's going, well, yeah, I guess for like cash pay and out in network clinics, my biggest success stories are in network clinics. 70% arrival rates, up to 80, up to 90%. Cancel rate. One of the first trainings I ever did, trained 2 front desk people at a 2-clinic practice. 90 days later, I made the owner triple check the numbers. Their cancel rate went down by 50%. You
Wow.
tell me how much ROI there is in that.
Yeah.
Nothing with the providers. So my point here is let the providers be the providers, right? We over leverage, we overtrain, we over just keep poking. I'm like, leave the providers alone. Let the front desk be the rock stars they are, and then watch the magic unfold. It's the connectedness, right?
Have you ever worked with a clinic that took your advice, implemented these things, maybe increased the pay of their front desk people?
Well, isn't that interesting? Because usually I'm gone before anything like that happens. Yet, I've got a couple testimonials that talk about people who have tracked the revenue.
Yeah.
What I will do, I'm not going to tell the owners to give raises, Brianna. Here's it, right? I tread this lightly, but here's what I will do. I will show up in a room of front desk people and owners and say, look, and I talk about this arrive, pay, and stay thing in the ROI, and I go, if you guys are driving more money in the business and your yearly review comes up and you guys have been tracking these numbers, and I just pause and go, you think you might have a little leverage in the room? So I leave it up to the front desk people to own their success. So I literally will do that and just pause and go, do you think you'll have a little leverage in that room at your year-end review?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, you'll get 3%. Oh, I hear you, Jerry. Yet, have you seen the numbers I put up?
Yeah. It's really interesting to see, like, what are all the different ways that this profession, PT in general, as you hear always on LinkedIn, it's always like, oh man, administrative burden is so high. We're getting crushed by
articles,
Medicare, right? We're getting reimbursed less than we ever have, yada, yada, yada. But then the lack of desire to kind of put in some of these solutions.
Well, by the way, so yeah, a number one solution is hire for the role.
Yeah.
It's always
Hire for the
interesting to
real
me.
role,
Yeah,
not the job
the
description
real-
from 5 years
right,
ago.
yeah. It's always funny because when the highest paid front desk member is the head of billing, you just told me you have no idea what's going on in billing. This is for another day. Yeah, all these things.
Don't worry, we'll definitely have more of these conversations. This was so great. We just hit an hour on the recording, so I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording here, and we'll share all of those details in the show notes.